Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Pequignet Royale Paris 39.5mm. This watch is available from pequignet.com for €8,500. Pequignet were founded in 1973 and they're based in Morteau in France. In 2011, Pequignet became a manufacturer. What that means is they began to manufacture their own in-house calibers in Morteau in France. This piece, the Royale Paris 39.5mm, is a novelty or new release for 2025, and it features the Pequignet Calibre Royale Automatic, which is one of their in-house manufactured calibers. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the specifications of the piece. So the watch comes in a watch box which is housed inside this outer cardboard box. So one removes the lid to the outer cardboard box, which is a snug fit. Pulls down the flap, and inside we have the watch box itself, which I'll take out and show you. So this is the watch box, spring-loaded hinge lid. On the top of the hinge lid we have the Pequignet logo in black text, stitching around the perimeter to the top of the hinge lid. And on the front we have the fleur de lis, which denotes that this is made in France. And beneath the fleur de lis we have Manufacture Française, which confirms this. So spring-loaded hinge lid. Very aesthetically pleasing because the interior is fully upholstered with a contrasting grey velour fabric to a good standard. In the base we have two cutouts. The left-hand cutout houses the white watch roll. The right-hand cutout, which is upholstered with orange velour fabric, houses a padded pillow cushion which the watch sits upon. Padded pillow cushion is also upholstered with matching grey velour fabric to a good standard, and as you can see, the base is fully lined with grey velour fabric, and around the cutout is lined with contrasting orange velour fabric. So excellent presentation, nice design. I'll take out the watch roll and show you. Watch roll is made from white vinyl, as you can see, Pequignet logo embossed, stitching around the perimeter, stainless steel popper securing the flap, and the interior is fully upholstered with grey velour fabric, and inside there is a padded pillow cushion, which is also upholstered with contrasting orange and grey velour fabric to match the base of the watch box. And this is a snug fit inside the base, does a good job of protecting the watch inside the watch roll and of course inside the watch box itself. So very aesthetically pleasing. I'll just show you the base. As you can see, every facet of it is coated with white vinyl to a good standard. So immediately one gets the impression that the Pequignet Royale Paris 39.5mm is a high-tier piece made in France with a manufacturer in-house calibre. With regards to items that come with the piece, this is the owner's instruction manual, clear concise diagrams. The instructions are in English and it details the operation of the calibre used. So as I've detailed, in 2011 Pequignet became a manufacturer and they began manufacturing their own in-house calibers rather than buying in movements from Sellita and ETA, modifying the movements and decorating them, for example. So this owner's instruction manual covers three in-house manufactured calibers: the Calibre Royale, the Calibre Royale Manual and the Calibre Initial, which are used in various pieces. It's also bilingual, it's translated into both English and French. Clear concise diagrams, the instructions are in English, and it is an excellent owner's instruction manual detailing the Pequignet Calibre Royale Automatic. One also gets this stainless steel token, which is actually the warranty card, and very good attention to detail because rather than taking the less expensive default option of using a plastic or cardboard warranty card, this is made from stainless steel. Beautiful lustre to the brushed satin finishing. On the reverse, we have a QR code and also a serial number for the piece. So you can scan the QR code with your Android or iPhone. That will activate the 5-year international warranty from the date of purchase and also download the terms and conditions of the 5-year international warranty. I want to give due credit to Pequignet because this is innovative, using a QR code on a stainless steel warranty card rather than just using a plastic or cardboard warranty card with a serial number and date of purchase on it. Also, I want to give due credit to Pequignet here because often high-tier pieces are only covered with a 2-year international warranty. This is €8,500, so clearly it's a high-tier piece, but it's covered by a 5-year international warranty. And the in-house manufactured calibre, the Pequignet Calibre Royale Automatic, is also covered by a 5-year international warranty, which indicates they are very confident in the reliability and the durability of the calibre. One also gets this Pequignet plastic tag, which has the logo embossed, and on the reverse it has the full reference number of the piece. And lastly, one also gets this suede effect sleeve, and I'll take out the item it houses. Now inside we have a stainless steel pusher, mirror polished, as you can see, precision ground to a tip, and on one side it says manufacture because of course it's powered by manufacturer caliber, the Caliber Royale automatic, and on the reverse it says Caliber Royale engraved. Now this pusher is used for activating or operating the Northern Hemisphere and Southern Hemisphere Moonphase complications in the piece. So on the left hand flank of the case you can see we have a recessed pusher or button, and you press the pusher using the stainless steel pusher included, and that will advance the Northern Hemisphere and Southern Hemisphere Moonphase complications at 6 o'clock on the dial. So excellent to get the pusher included. So with regards to the specifications of the piece, we have a 39.5mm case diameter, we have a 47mm lug-to-lug measurement, a thickness of 11.8mm and a lug width of 20mm. The alligator leather strap tapers from 20mm at the lugs down to the buckle and tang 2-button push deployant clasp. The buckle and tang externally is finished to perfection. This is high tier level finishing. To clarify, mid tier is €500 to €5,000 level, high tier is 5,000 plus. So at €8,500, this is clearly a high tier piece. Brushed satin finishing to the body of the buckle and tang, and we've got an embossed Pequignet fleur de lis emblem, which is mirror polished and absolutely gorgeous. No sharp edges to the top edge, lower edge or flanks. Beautiful luster to the top edge, lower edge and flanks. Angular profile, nice large bevels which are also brushed satin finish. Beautiful luster to it, just fantastic finishing. So 2 button push triggers to the deployants, and as you can see externally the buckle and tang sits on a deployant clasp, and as you can see excellent attention to detail. Left hand portion is engraved with high definition engraving with Pequignet, right hand portion is engraved with manufacture. 2 button push triggers are heavily sprung loaded. It's handed, you close the right hand portion first, left hand portion overlaps with the external buckle and tang. Fantastic. We have a boxed top hat crystal which is double dome sapphire with clear AR coating on the underside, and the clear anti-reflective coating does an outstanding job of reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the silver mirror polished applied indices and also the silver mirror polished Dolphin handset. Dolphin hands are made from steel, and as you can see the mirror polishing is stellar, correctly proportioned, and also the minute Dolphin hand is larger than the hour Dolphin hand, so one can immediately differentiate between the hour and minute hand. Boxed top hat crystal is low profile but does give the piece a vintage aesthetic. It does add some thickness to the piece, but despite this having an incredibly high power reserve of 96 hours and a box top hat crystal, this is still only 11.8mm. And above all else, that's the thing I like about this piece most of all. It's got 96 hours power reserve and a box top hat crystal, but it is only 11.8, and that is thanks to the in-house caliber, the manufacturer caliber Royale automatic, being very thin and very low profile. 11.8 is fantastic. The dial is also very well executed. So to put this into perspective, in terms of the quality of the finishing throughout, the textured finishing of the dial, the bevels, the recesses, the concaves, and also the concentric circles in the sub-dial for the seconds, this is high tier level. This is the kind of dial execution one expects to see with a high tier piece from the Holy Trinity. When I'm talking about the Holy Trinity, I'm referring to Audemars Piguet, Vacheron Constantin and Patek Philippe respectively. That is the level of dial quality execution here. Even around the Northern Hemisphere and Southern Hemisphere Moonphase complications, you can see we have silver mirror polished beveled rings, and this is the kind of attention to detail one only sees on a high tier piece above €5,000. One doesn't see this on mid tier pieces at €500 to €5,000 respectively. This is the kind of dial execution I would expect to see on a €15,000 plus price point piece, and it's made in France with a made in France manufacturer caliber movement. So on the left of the dial we have the power reserve indicator, and there's a red marker when it's fully depleted, when the mainspring is fully unwound, and when it's fully at its maximum that indicates it's at its absolute 96-hour power reserve limits. 96 hours is incredible power reserve for a piece that is only 11.8mm thick, as I've detailed. Large second sub-dial on the dial is clearly legible. Legibility is good. Printing of the minute ticks is excellent. I'm just going to move the minutes hand out of the way so you can see it better. If you look at the sub-dial, you can also see it has a mirror polished silver ring around it, which matches the mirror polished silver rings around the Northern Hemisphere and Southern Hemisphere Moonphase complications. Also, excellent attention to detail, because on the lower portion of the second subdial it has Manufacture Française, which confirms that this piece is manufactured in Morteau in France, as is the in-house caliber manufactured in France. So fantastic finishing, concentric circles to it, high definition printing of the minute ticks, they're sharp and crisp. Also the power reserve indicator has sharp, crisp printing. The chaptering is clearly indexed with minute ticks, also got a textured finish to it. I like its concave. There's a concave bevel which runs beneath the applied silver indices, and it's just stellar finishing throughout. Stellar finishing to the texture, stellar finishing to the application of the rhodium Pequignet logo, which gives it a 3D effect. Also, there's perfect mirror polishing to the frame around the day-date complication. So this is an incredibly complicated piece, because the manufactured caliber here has a day-date complication, power reserve indicator, northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere moonphase complications, and also a subdial for the seconds. So incredibly complicated, but still only 11.8 millimeters, just incredible. Not only that, 96 hours of power reserve, which is just incredible. Mirror polished Dolphin hands are steel, and the quality of the mirror polishing is just incredible. This really is Holy Trinity level. This is the kind of finishing on Dolphin hands one would expect from Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet or Vacheron Constantin respectively. That is the level we're looking at. €15,000+ level finishing. Mirror polishing to the applied indices, which are steel. It's just done to perfection. It is stellar. They could not improve upon this dial finishing throughout. The textured finish to it and the 3D effect of it is just mesmerising. This is the kind of dial one would expect with a Gégé Lecoutre piece, and that's what we're looking at. It's just incredible. With regards to the bezel, it's solid 316L grade stainless steel, concentric CNC lathe tool machining, flat profile to it versus being domed profile. Large mirror polished chamfer, which is very aesthetically pleasing because the mirror polished chamfer serves two purposes. It deletes the sharp edge to the edge of the bezel, but also looks aesthetically pleasing because it complements the mirror polished bevels to the top of the lugs. The side of the bezel is concentric CNC lathe tool machined, which complements the flat CNC lathe tool machining to the top profile. Very low profile bezel. It allows the box top hat crystal, which is double dome sapphire crystal, to project above it. And it's excellent because it's flat in the centre section. So although it's a box top hat crystal, which gives it a vintage aesthetic, rather like an acrylic, plexiglass, or alternatively Hesselite crystal, of course sapphire crystal is harder and more scratch resistant. So one gets the benefit of vintage aesthetic, but the modern day contemporary enhancement of hard and scratch resistant. AR coating is fantastic on this piece. It's some of the best anti-reflective coating I have ever seen. I've reviewed over 500 watches on my channel, and I can tell you this is some of the best AR coating I've seen. The clarity and the legibility is stellar. This crystal has exceptional clarity. The case is finished to Holy Trinity level. So to remind you again, Holy Trinity is Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet and Vacheron Constantin respectively. That is the level. Make no mistake, we are not looking at mid-tier case finishing here. This is high-tier level. 15,000+ level finishing. Mirror polishing to the flanks is exceptional. It's got a nice concave to the flanks. It's like a scallop which is recessed. Rather than being flat profiles, which would make it look slab-sided and too thick, what they've done is they've scalloped the flanks to the case with a concave. And you can see the way the mirror polishing of the concave is done to a flawless standard. It's just incredible. Nice large mirror polished bevels which run the full length of the case, and they mark the transition between the top of the brushed satin finished lugs, which are longitudinally brushed satin finished, and the mirror polished flanks. Nice large undercuts to the flanks which deletes the sharp edge. This is just incredible case finishing. Some of the best case finishing I have ever seen on my channel in over 500 pieces reviewed. Internally, in between the lugs, we've also got the same concave scallop, which gives interest to it rather than being flat profile. The quality of the mirror polishing internally in between the lugs is done to the same high tier level, Holy Trinity level, as the flanks of the case. The mirror polishing is just stellar throughout. Brushed satin finishing has a beautiful luster, and the brushed satin finishing, which is longitudinal on the tops of the curved lugs, matches the concentric CNC lathe tool machining. So similar luster, similar fine satin finishing. Just incredible finishing to the case throughout. It's just stellar. So let's test the push-pull crown execution. The push-pull crown is coin edge finished, solid 316L grade stainless steel, nice large chamfer which deletes the sharp tips to the coin edge teeth, correctly proportioned. Again, it has a concave profile to it, so matte bead-blasted background to it, and we have an embossed 3D effect to the fleur de lis. And the fleur de lis denotes that this is made in France and a manufacture française piece. Fantastic finishing to the crown. It's correctly proportioned, so it's large enough to be grippy and tactile. It's easy to get good purchase with your index finger and thumb. However, it's not too large. It doesn't project too far from the right hand flank of the case. Therefore, when you flex the wrist, the crown doesn't dig into the back of the hand, so they've got it correct. Large enough to get good purchase on, not too large to dig into the back of the hand. So, as it's a push-pull crown versus a screw-down crown, in the closed position, it provides an effective hermetic seal to 50 metres, which is perfectly acceptable for a daily wear piece, and one can manually wind the in-house Calibre Royale automatic to its maximum 96-hour power reserve. Just think about that for a moment. 96 hours is incredible. Usually automatic pieces with a rotor typically have a 40-hour power reserve. This has 96 hours, more than double the standard 40-hour power reserve, which is the industry standard. 96 hours is fantastic. Now, in terms of how it feels, silky smooth. Doesn't feel rough or gritty, doesn't feel stiff, feels very smooth. This feels absolutely sublime to manually wind it. Now, the negative is subjectively, because it is an incredibly high power reserve, because it has a grande barrelet, which means large barrel, to attain 96 hours. Normally with an automatic with a 40-hour power reserve, 40 clockwise turns would suffice to fully wind the mainspring to its maximum 40 hours, but this has more than double the standard 40-hour industry standard power reserve, 96 hours. So, subjectively, negatively, one has to rotate the crown clockwise more than 40 turns. It takes 80 turns to fully wind it to its maximum 96 hours, but bear in mind, because of its large power reserve and because it's automatic rather than manual wind mechanical movement, you're not going to have to manually wind it on a daily basis or even every other day or even every 3 days. 96 hours means you can simply manually wind it fully 80 times. That will top it up to its maximum 96 hours, and then you can simply wear it for 8 to 12 hours per day and it will automatically wind via the rotor. Feels silky smooth, fantastic. Pulling it out to the first click position is the quick set date complication. Now, one detail I really like about this day-date complication, if you look at the Arabic numerals for the date, 29th of the month, it's actually got 2 wheels rather than just one. Usually with date wheels, the single and the Arabic numerals are printed around the circumference of the dial. They have a large date wheel, and the aperture or for the date window is at 3 o'clock or 6 o'clock. And what happens is you cycle through the 360 degrees or the 31 days of the month, and the single and the doubles are displayed in a 3 o'clock date complication or a 6 o'clock date complication. This has a day-date complication which is framed in silver, but there are 2 wheels for the single and the double Arabic numerals. So they operate independently. You can see 01 is for first of the month. So we're now cycling through. The right hand date wheel is clicking independently of the left hand one, and it clicks over with a nice positive click. And then what happens is when you get up to, you'll see it coming up to 20 now, the left and the right hand date wheels operate independently of each other, but they both click over with nice, heavy, loud, audible clicks. The alignment is correct. They're not too far to the left or the right of the framing, and they're not too high or too low. The alignment is bang on the centre, left and right, and high and low. This is fantastic. Quality control builds quality, tolerances, and machining. And I like the way the single and the double Arabic numerals operate independently. Again, this is the kind of thing one only sees, or the kind of complication for a day-date complication one only sees on high tier level pieces costing €15,000 plus. One would expect to see a day-date complication with independent date wheels like this on a Holy Trinity piece from Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet or Vacheron Constantin respectively. One doesn't see this at €8,500. It is fantastic. Now, looking at the left, you can see that is the day complication. Now, to clarify, this piece is available in 3 colour options: opaline white, green and blue respectively. Of the 3 colour options, this opaline white version is my favourite. They also produce this with the option of French or English day complication, because depending on if you want to read it in French or English, they appreciate that some collectors prefer to read the watch in French, some collectors prefer to read the watch in English. So they offer the day-date complication in both. This is the French version, as you can see. So rotating the crown clockwise advances the date complication. Rotating the crown anti-clockwise advances the day complication. I'm just going to move the hour hand out of the way so you can see it better, because I just want you to see how stellar this is. So we're now in the date setting position. Rotating it clockwise advances the single and the double Arabic numerals. As you can see, alignment is perfect. Rotating it anti-clockwise advances it through the days of the week in French, and as I've detailed, you can have it in English if you prefer. Pequignet make it in both. Fantastic. Nice, loud, audible clicks. Feels solid, feels reliable, feels robust, feels crisp, and I really like the sensation of it. You can feel both the dates clicking over, both the singles and the doubles, and also the days of the week. They have the same sensation. It's just stellar. This really does say to me Holy Trinity level day-date complication. It says to me Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet or Vacheron Constantin. Pulling it out to the second click position hacks the movements. So we're now in the time setting position. Now, actually it doesn't have hacking. That's something to note. I thought it did. Apologies. So if you look at the subdial, subjectively, this is the one negative I want you to be mindful of. The Pequignet Royale Automatic does not hack. You can see the subdial, the second hand continues to sweep around the dial, but we're now in the time setting position. So normally one would expect this to be able to hack. That's the one negative I want you to be aware of. I wasn't aware of it. So I'm going to bring that to your attention. I'm glad to bring that to your attention. So we're now in the time setting position. Feels smooth, doesn't feel rough or gritty, doesn't feel too stiff, feels very well balanced. There's perfect meshing in the gearing. You can feel the teeth of the gearing are precision cut because they don't have a lot of slack, they don't have a lot of backplay. So it feels nice and tight, but it feels smooth. It doesn't feel like it has too much resistance. Has 39 joules, very low friction, feels silky smooth. I like the feeling of it both clockwise and anti-clockwise when you cycle through the 12 hours. Excellent. Feels very good to set the time. Pushing it back in, it's got a nice positive click, and of course the subdial second hand continues to run throughout the time setting because it doesn't hack. Now finally, let's look at the Northern Hemisphere and the Southern Hemisphere moon phase complications. So what we have here at 6 o'clock are two moon phases rather than a single moon phase. Usually moon phase complication pieces only have a single moon phase, and often they're sighted at 12 o'clock, and then the moon phase cycles through the 29.5 days typically. This piece has two moon phases which are high definition. They're very detailed. They're perfect replicas or accurate high definition replication of the northern hemisphere of the moon and the southern hemisphere of the moon printed. So they cycle through the moon phase from day to night, and to operate the moon phase complications you use this included stainless steel pusher. So this engages with the dimple in the pusher on the left hand flank very securely, and just bear with me, I'll get the camera to focus. So what you do is you press in the pusher using the stainless steel pusher, and it pulses, it clicks. Every time you push it, it clicks. So now you can see the top circle is the northern hemisphere and the lower circle is the southern hemisphere. So it displays both moon phases, the southern hemisphere and the northern hemisphere, simultaneously, rather than just having a single moon phase which only displays one hemisphere at one time. So depressing it with a pusher gradually cycles through from night to day and so on, as you can see. And it's very good. Nice positive clicks, and you can see it cycles through the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere of the moon. Now, I want to clarify the definition of both the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere moons on this complication are fantastic. They are incredibly detailed, and they are a perfect replication. And the definition is just done to the highest level. And again, this is the kind of moon phase complication detail one would expect to see on a Holy Trinity piece from Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet and Vacheron Constantin level. I keep repeating it because really it's worth noting. What we're looking at is a 15,000 plus euro level piece in terms of quality, but it's not 15,000 euro. This is 8,500 euro. Made in France with a French-made manufacturer calibre. So as you can see, not only is it very aesthetically pleasing, but the legibility is excellent. The definition of the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere moon phase complication is also stellar. Silver rings, which are beveled, and it's just a delight to look at. This is just mesmerising. So, works very well. Easy to operate. The layout of the dial has excellent legibility, excellent functionality as a daily wear piece, because day-date complication is clearly legible at 12 o'clock. And then the power indicator is clearly legible on the left-hand portion of the dial. The double Moonphase complication for the Northern Hemisphere and Southern Hemisphere are clearly legible at the 6 o'clock, and then on the right hand portion of the dial we've got this large sub-dial for the seconds. So everything about this dial is easy to read. It's well decorated, well executed, but the point is it's functional, it's legible. The dial isn't too busy, it's not over branded with unnecessary text and specification. I really like everything about it. They've got the balance correct between just the right amount of information but not over branding it with unnecessary text and specification. For example, it doesn't say automatic on the dial, it doesn't say 50 meters. This is negligible information, but we do have manufacture française and they are right to print that on the sub-dial because they are very proud of that. And it's excellent because the dial is easy to read, the power reserve, the Moonphase complications, the second sub-dial and the day-date complication. Fantastic. Right, so let's look at the strap in detail. So this is available on 2 leather straps. A standard leather strap, which is blue, alternatively this tan tone alligator leather strap. Of the 2 options, this alligator leather is my personal favourite because it looks fantastic and feels fantastic. So contrasting white stitching around the edges is flawless, no loose stitches. Now, it is a padded leather strap, so it is thicker at the spring bar end where it needs to be more reinforced. And then it tapers down in width, but also thickness, and it becomes more soft and flexible. In terms of how soft and supple it is, this is as soft and supple as a top grain Hirsch leather strap made in Austria, or alternatively a Horween shell cordovan strap, which is the very best of leather straps. So that's the level of quality we're looking at, top grain or alternatively Horween shell cordovan. It's alligator leather, very soft and supple. It's not going to require any breaking in. It really does remind me of a Hirsch top grain strap made in Austria. Very soft and supple, smooth on the top side, smooth on the underside. So buckle and tang is finished to perfection with the embossed fleur-de-lis. 2 button push triggers, opens freely, and we've got Pequignet manufacture, flawless mirror polishing to the top side, underside and flanks, heavily sprung loaded pushers which are correctly proportioned, they feel reliable and robust, they also feel smooth, they don't feel stiff. This is the level of refinement one is getting with this piece. Let's check the hinge pins. Left hand hinge pin on the buckle and tang, articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, doesn't have excess play. Left hand inner hinge pin, articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, doesn't have excess play. Right hand inner hinge pin articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink. Finally, right hand outer hinge pin articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink. This is stellar. This is an example to other high tier brands of how to get a 2 button push deploying clasp executed to perfection. Looks good, feels good, no sharp edges. They've deburred and chamfered the undercuts to the flanks, no sharp corners to the inner portions. It's the perfect buckle and tang on a deploying clasp. The underside is also finished to the same perfect standard, and you can see on the left hand portion it's got engraved in high definition engraving stainless steel, and on the right hand side it says Fabrique en France, which means that this is made in France as per the head of the piece and of course the in-house calibre. Stellar finishing throughout, mirror polishing is some of the best I have seen. So let's look at the underside to the strap. As you can see, on the buckle and tang side, we have Pequignet embossed, and they've made the correct decision by using quick release stainless steel spring bars versus standard spring bars, because with thick padded alligator leather straps like this, it can be difficult to depress the spring bar inside the leather strap without slipping off it and scuffing and scratching the lugs. Now, I want to show you a detail. Now, I'm just going to open up the buckle and tang because this is something very worth seeing. Now, if you look at the lugs, this is the first time I've ever seen this. Now, I've reviewed over 500 watches, and it's nothing unusual to see quick release stainless steel spring bars. Just bear with me, I'll get the camera to focus on it because I want you to see it in detail. It's nothing unusual to see quick release stainless steel spring bars, but if you look closely at the lugs, you can see they have milled slots into the lugs. There are full slots on the 4 lugs. So what's the purpose of that? This actually helps you engage the quick release spring bars in the lugs, because you'll know this yourself from using standard and quick release stainless steel spring bars. Often it's difficult with a padded leather strap to engage the spring bars in the lugs without slipping off and scuffing and scratching the lugs with either the spring bar or alternatively the spring bar tool. But what they've done is, to facilitate this, to make it easier, they've milled slots which are very fine. And they're the perfect diameter for the ends, the tips of the spring bars. And what that means is when you're trying to exchange the strap, when you're locating the spring bar on the lugs, the spring bar slides immediately into the slots. the milled slots in the lugs, the 4 slots, as you can see. And what that means is it clicks in immediately. You don't have to fight it. You don't have to keep depressing the lever and try to press it in over and over again, and then you slip off with a spring bar tool, or you slip off, the spring bar scuffs the lugs. And this is the first time in over 500 watches I've seen this attention to detail. It's fantastic, and it actually works very well, because when you depress the lever on the quick release spring bar, it compresses the spring bar, but when you come to refit it, the end of the spring bar, the tip of it, both of the tips engage in the slots, and it slides in with no resistance. And then, of course, it expands under the spring-loaded tension, and then it locks in. And it works very well. This is the kind of detail one gets with a Pequignet piece. I have never seen this on another watch. So let's look at the case back in detail. Screwed down exhibition case back. Now I say screwed down versus screw down because rather than having milled slots and it being threaded, the case back screwing into the case as per a screw down case back, this is screwed down. And what I mean by that is it has 6 flathead screws, which are mirror polished, and the 6 flathead screws screw the case back down to the body, the head of the piece. So, nice large diameter because it's sapphire crystal glazed. This does an excellent job of displaying the calibre, and of course this is my favourite aspect of the piece, the Pequignet Calibre Royale Automatic, which is one of their manufactured calibres made in-house in Morteau in France, and I will detail that later. But you can see the stainless steel portion is large diameter, so it's visually aesthetically pleasing, but also serves a purpose. Just look how flat it is. We're not looking at a deep bubble back profile stainless steel case back here. This is incredibly thin. What I like about this, what impresses me about this most of all, is how close the underside of the sapphire crystal glazing runs to the rotor. You can see there is minimal clearance. It actually looks like the sapphire crystal is touching the rotor. That's how close it is. That is the tolerances of this in-house calibre. They've slimmed the calibre down to its absolute minimum thickness, but they've also slimmed down the sapphire crystal glazing to its absolute minimum, because this piece, despite having a box top hat double dome sapphire crystal, is only 11.8 millimeters. Now, if this were 40-hour power reserve and 11.8, I would say that's nothing impressive. It would not impress me. This has 96 hours, more than double the power reserve of a standard movement, 40 hours. 96 hours. Normally thick movements that have a large barrel with 96 hours of power reserve, they're very thick. So I would expect this to be 14 millimeters thick. That's what I'm talking about. This is only 11.8. Not even 13 millimeters. It's just incredible. And one of the benefits of this is because the calibre is thin. The other benefit is the sapphire crystal glazing is thin. And just look how close the sapphire crystal is to the rotor. It looks like it's touching it. And again, this is the kind of execution, the quality level one only sees on high-tier pieces costing €15,000 plus. You're not going to see this level of thin calibre and this level of clearance between the underside of the sapphire crystal and the rotor on a mid-tier piece between €500 and €5,000. This is what Pequignet can do and other brands cannot do at the same €8,500. 11.8 millimeters with 96 hours. Just incredible achievements. So, very flat. Benefit of it being flat is this sits very snug to the wrist. It's perfectly smooth, so this enhances the comfort level and the feel-good factor. And of course, the movement is decorated to perfection, which I'll talk about. But the stainless steel portion is concentric CNC lathe tool machined, beautiful lustre to it, engraved with high definition engraving with Pequignet Manufacture Française, 5 ATM because it's 50 meters, the serial number of the piece, and it's just fantastic. It's one of the best screwed down exhibition case backs I've ever seen. Stellar. Right, so let's do a Lume test and we'll see how the Lume performs when it's charged up to the absolute maximum. So just bear with me, I'm going to do up the buckle and tang on the deployants, because when I close it up, it will make it easier to handle for the Lume test. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to the absolute peak. Now it may come as a surprise to you, this does have some Lume, because strictly speaking, it's a daily wear or dress piece, and therefore doesn't need to have Lume. We're not looking at a dive piece, but they have added BGW9 Super Lume Nova to the Dolphin handset. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, it has not disappointed. We are clearly looking at a full 5 to 6 layers. Now I'm pleased to see Pequignet, unlike many other high-tier brands, do not use a production cost-cutting measure of using 2 to 3 layers or 3 to 4 layers on the Dolphin hands. This is clearly a full 5 to 6, which is the industry standard for good reason. Just bear with me, I'll get the camera to focus. So one can immediately differentiate between the shorter Dolphin hour hand and the longer Dolphin minute hand. Easy to read the time. Now, subjectively, one can be critical and say, well, they don't really serve a meaningful purpose because the indices are not loomed. Had they applied BGW9 to the applied steel indices, of course, that would benefit the piece because then you'd be able to register the Dolphin hands against the indices, because as it stands, we only have Lume on the Dolphin hands. However, you can still read the time in the dark, just simply by orientating the position of the hour and minute hand. You can tell the time. Of course, it would be better, it would be more beneficial to have Lume applied to the indices, but this is subjective because then some collectors would argue, well, it would spoil the aesthetic of a Moonphase complication or a day-date complication piece. It's meant to be a daily wear or a dress piece and therefore shouldn't have Lume on the indices. It really is subjective. It comes down to, do you prefer Lume on the indices or do you prefer it without? But with regards to the quality, even application, the exciter is potent and good colour tone match between the hour and minute hand. That's the point. So in the dark, same blue tone. In daylight, perfect white tone, and that complements the opaline white dial. And as I've detailed, this piece is available in 3 colour options: opaline white, green and blue. The opaline white is the best looking. So I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. So I've adjusted this to fit. Now, to clarify, this is available on 2 leather straps. Standard leather strap, which is blue, alternatively this alligator tan leather strap. The alligator version is the best looking. Now, as you can see, it's a fraction too short. Just bear with me, I'll move both keepers and you'll be able to see. It's a fraction too short to engage the end of the strap in the 2 keepers. First keeper is fixed, second keeper slides, as one would expect. However, I'm not going to be critical of that. Why is that? Well, Pequignet offer this alligator strap and the other standard leather strap in 3 lengths: small, medium and large. This one is the medium. So to clarify, if you have a 5 to 6 inch wrist, the small length is correct. If you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist, the medium length is correct. If you have a large wrist of 8 inches plus, the large strap is correct. This one is the medium, so it will fit from a 6 to 7 inch wrist correctly, or even a 7.5 inch maximum. I've got it on its maximum extension on the last hole, and as you can see, it's just half an inch too short or 1 inch too short. This is the medium strap. The large strap is 8 inches plus, will fit, so I'm not going to be critical of it because they do small, medium and large. So feel good factor, comfort level is stellar. This feels incredibly well balanced. As I've detailed, even though it has a box top hat crystal, this is not too thick. We're not looking at a 13mm plus piece, even though it has an incredibly high power reserve of 96 hours. This is only 11.8. Needless to say, this will easily slip underneath a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts. You'll know from my previous reviews, anything below 13mm is the sweet spot for a daily wear piece to easily slip underneath a shirt cuff. So although it has a box top hat crystal versus a flat sapphire crystal, it's still only 11.8. Low profile. Now, the flanks do not look thick and slab-sided, which is good because they have this concave profile, the scallop. Mirror polished to perfection, but the concave in between the lugs, which matches the concave profile on the flanks, it actually visually deletes the look of the flanks. So this looks thinner than it actually is. Legibility is fantastic. AR coating is some of the best I've seen. Day-date complication is clearly legible. Second subdial, clearly legible. Power reserve indicator, clearly legible. Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere, twin Moonphase complication, clearly legible. Stellar dial layout, looks good, feels good. Mirror polishing to the chamfer on the bezel is aesthetically pleasing because it complements the large bevels on the curved lugs. Alligator leather strap, although it's thick and padded and it tapers in thickness, it feels very soft and supple like a top grain, alternatively Horween shell cordovan strap. And you can see the buckle and tang on the deployment isn't too large and bulky. It actually curves around the wrist very nicely. So feels balanced. Doesn't feel top heavy. The alligator leather strap has the correct taper, 20 down to the buckle and tang deployment, as you can see. Gorgeous tone to it, matte finish versus glossy. Now they've made the correct decision here because Had they used a glossy finish to the alligator leather strap, this would look too shiny and reflective, and it would clash with the matte finish to the textured opaline dial. But it's matte finished. Matte finished strap matches the matte finished opaline dial. So it's good. Potentially it could be worn as a dress piece, but clearly it's intended to be a daily wear piece because we have the day date complication, power reserve indicator, second subdial, and the twin northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere Moonphase complication. Feel good factor, comfort level could not be improved upon. Feels invisible on wrist. It's one of the most comfortable pieces I've worn. It's just fantastic. Now in terms of wrist presence, 39.5 is good. It's large enough to give wrist presence and satisfaction, even for a larger wrist like my 8-inch plus wrist size. So if you have a 6 to 7-inch wrist, yes, this will fit. If you have a 7 to 8-inch wrist, yes, this will fit. And of course it is available on a small, medium and large alligator leather strap, so you'll get the perfect fit. In terms of lug to lug, it's just a fraction below the sweet spot. You'll know from my previous reviews, 48mm lug to lug is the perfect lug to lug measurement for all wrist sizes because 48 is the industry standard. It fits 6 to 7 and also 7 to 8-inch wrist sizes equally. At 47, it's only 1mm below the perfect sweet spot of 48, which is good. Thing I like about this piece is 84 grams. Incredibly lightweight for a 39.5 on an alligator leather strap. Bear in mind, this is an incredibly complicated movement because we have day date complication, power reserve indicator, twin Moonphase complication and second subdial. I would expect this to be heavier because I would expect to have a thicker movement. And again, this is the benefit of it having an in-house manufactured caliber. The Pequignet Royale automatic is very thin. This piece is only 11.8 as a result, but it also reduces the heft of the piece because it's not a thick caliber. That's the point. This piece is only 84 grams. I would expect this to be 95 grams plus. So at 84 grams for a 39.5, this really does feel weightless on wrist. Has wrist presence, so looks large enough to satisfy, but it's not too thick. Curvature is good. We don't have a large gap beneath the tips of the curved lugs. Wraps around the wrist very well, and I love the concave profile of the flanks and in between the lugs, which are mirror polished. Just fantastic. It's a great looking piece and it's clearly legible. The perfect daily wear piece. Right, so let's discuss the movement use because it's my favourite aspect of the piece. So just bear with me and I'll put my Concord 40 back on the wrist and then I will continue. Right, so I'm going to undo the buckle and tang because I want you to view the calibre through the exhibition case back to its full beauty. Now, as I've detailed, sapphire crystal glazed exhibition caseback. So, in 2011, Pequignet became a manufacturer and they began to manufacture their own in-house calibers. So this piece is designed and manufactured entirely in Morteau in France. It has 39 joules. It runs at 21,600 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 3 Hz. It has hand winding. The negative is it does not have hacking, as I've detailed. That's something to be mindful of. Has northern and southern hemisphere Moonphase complications, day date complication and power reserve indicator, which all work well. Time setting works well, day date complication works well, all the complications work correctly. 96-hour power reserve, just think about that for a moment. As I've clarified, the industry standard for automatic calibers is 40 hours. This has more than double the industry standard 40-hour power reserve. It doesn't have 80 hours. This has 96 hours of power reserve. It's just incredible. It's regulated in 5 positions to chronometer accuracy. So to clarify, chronometer accuracy is -4 to +6. Usually when one extends the power reserve using a large barrel or grand barrelet, the problem is one has to sacrifice accuracy. So if you look at in the centre of the calibre, you can see on the main plate it's engraved with Grand Barrelet. And this means, in French, it means large barrel. So they increase the size of the barrel and therefore that increases the power reserve to the incredible 96 hours. Now, often the negative of that is when you use a large barrel or a Grand Barrelet, the calibre becomes thicker and therefore the watch has to become thicker. It will be 13mm plus because the case needs more depth to house the deeper calibre. They've slimmed this movement down and therefore this is only 11.8, but it still has 96 hours. Now the other negative is with high power reserve calibers with a large barrel is when they enlarge the barrel and they increase the power reserve, it depletes the accuracy because one has to maintain a balance between accuracy and power reserve. Higher power reserve means lower accuracy, greater accuracy means lower power reserve. Often the industry standard for automatic calibers is 4 Hz because 4 Hz gives a nice balance between power reserve and accuracy, 28,800 vibrations per hour. However, 4 Hz is no good for very high power reserves of say 96 hours. You need to lower the hertz, lower the frequency down to 3 Hz, which is 21,600 vibrations per hour. So to clarify, to remind you, this caliber runs at 3 Hz, which is 21,600 vibrations per hour. And that means they can increase the power reserve up to 96 hours. But they do not sacrifice accuracy as a result. They can still maintain chronometer accuracy of -4 to +6 when regulating it in 5 positions. So they've got the balance correct. 96 hours, very high power reserve. The movement isn't too thick. This is only 11.8, which is very impressive. And it's also chronometer accurate. Now, in terms of decoration, the skeletonized rotor is decorated with an engraved fleur de lis in gilt, and it's rhodium plated. Beautiful brush satin finishing to the skeletonized rotor, beautiful inlay of the gilt in the fleur de lis. We've got milled stripes on the main plate, which is engraved with Grand Barrelet, which denotes large barrel. And the inlay in gilt is done to perfection. The milled stripes are like Côtes de Genève or Geneva stripes. And then on the bridges to the movements, we've got pelage finishing. And of course, around the circumference, just bear with me, I'll rotate it and show you. We've got Pequignet, and on the other side, we've got manufacture, because that denotes that this is made in France in Morteau. So in terms of decoration, I'll put this into perspective. To remind you again, this is Holy Trinity level decoration to the in-house manufacture caliber. Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet, Vacheron Constantin. This is the kind of decoration, the kind of finishing I would expect on a manufacture caliber made by Jaeger LeCoultre, and 15,000 plus euro. It's just fantastic. Pelage finishing is done to perfection. Milled stripes, which are like Côtes de Genève, are done to perfection. Even the brush satin finishing to the Grand Barrelet or large barrel, you can see the gear tooth is just fantastic. It's just absolutely stellar. It's finished to the highest levels. This really is 15,000 plus euro level finishing. And the movement alone fully justifies the price point of this piece. It's an incredible achievement. From only 2011, when they became a manufacturer, to be producing movements of this level, 15,000 plus euro level. What we're looking at here is peak Pequignet. This is one of the best Pequignet manufacture calibers. 96-hour power reserve, but this piece is only 11.8. It's just an incredible achievement. They deserve full credit for that. So last, I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should meet 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So high tier piece. Price point is €8,500. Yes, this is unquestionably excellent quality, and yes, it is unquestionably excellent value at €8,500. To clarify, you're not looking at an €8,500 piece made in France with a made in France in-house caliber. This is a 15,000 plus euro price point high tier piece, but it's not 15,000 euro retail. Pequignet have actually undervalued this piece. This should be 15,000 plus, but they're selling it for €8,500 with an in-house caliber, manufactured in Morteau in France, loaded with specification, 96 hours power reserve, chronometer accurate, it's stellar, and it's only 11.8mm thick. This is the perfect daily wear piece. Day-date complication, power reserve indicator, twin, northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere, Moonphase complication, subdial for the seconds. No negatives to this piece whatsoever. It could not be improved upon. If I had to be critical and I had to find one negative, one thing that's detrimental about this piece, I would say the lack of hacking, but this is subjective because I appreciate for the majority of collectors it's not detrimental not to have hacking, because this has an incredibly high power reserve of 96 hours and therefore it's necessary not to hack. So excellent movement, technically excellent. The movement alone fully justifies the piece. If this were €10,000, it would be excellent quality and excellent value. If this were €15,000, it would be excellent quality and excellent value. But it's not. It's only €8,500. It is a champagne watch for lemonade money. Peak Pequignet, one of the greatest pieces they have made. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Pequignet Royale Paris 39.5mm opaline white. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you for watching.